All right, ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. There is another game in this series, and it is, well, there are more games in this series. In fact, I don't want to say just game because then that spoils everything. This is game 4 between Complexity and between Optic Zero and Select, and we have, once again, an unfamiliar map to my eyes at least, but ooh, that's pretty cool. I would love to be in a club and see something like that. That would be pretty awesome. Little gyroscopes just spinning around and everywhere, and yeah, this is going to be game 4. Obviously we have a pretty solid lineup in these players, but even more solid and even more impressive than that is the fact that Complexity is such a good team. Drewby and Cats combined, really showing that, you know, being on a team for so long in Root and then being, you know, being teammates for so long has shown that they are very, very good, impeccable, immaculate, perfect teammates. They bounce off each other very well. They support each other in almost every way possible, and their timings for builds are just immaculate. And watching them play is just a beauty, really, in StarCraft 2. I love watching these two guys play, and now the onus really is on Optic Zero and Select. Are they really going to drop the 4th game? Are they going to drop the ball here? You can't blame them at the same time, but it's going to be pretty brutal for them if they go 4-0 and out, or 0-4 and out. So we'll see what happens on game 4 here. This is obviously a very, very long map. Good gracious. Look at that. Oh, we're going to take a scenic route around the Grand Canyon, around the Minnesota lakes, and then all the way over here to the bottom left. Awesome. So, there we are. And yes, my geography is really bad. Obviously, from the north east is not the Grand Canyon, and the southwest doesn't have lakes in Minnesota. So yeah, this is game 4, and we'll see what happens. Both players here doing a little bit of scouting action. Optic Zero getting into the main of Drewby. Drewby is playing pretty standard at this point. Not seeing anything too crazy. It's kind of interesting that that Cats doesn't use that extractor trick for Drewby. I would imagine if he builds an extractor with his drone, Drewby could mine out of it, but he doesn't do that. Maybe actually it's actually worse for Zerg because you end up losing the drone. So it's best for Protoss to do something like that. Darn it, Protoss always gets all the advantages. But it does look like Optic Zero here will be going for a very gas-heavy build. Getting the 2nd assimilator down, this is interesting. Once again, a map with very narrow choke points and a long rush distance. I would imagine we're going to see a tech or macro strategy from both these players over here, but as far as Cats and Drewby go, you don't really know what to expect from these two guys. They're really capable of anything. And we are going to have a 1-1-1 opening here. 1 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport. This barracks most likely going to build a tech lab as soon as it gets 50 gas. And a couple Lings punching through that front door, unable to do really any damage at all. And let's see, is that barracks building a tech lab? Yes, indeed it is. So we are most likely going to have a Banshee coming out here for Drewby. And Cats is just going to keep the pressure on with his Lings to buy Drewby the time he needs to get that Banshee out as quickly as possible. And it's going to really come down to whether or not Select and Optic Zero can get their game together. Are they going to be able to work together as a team to make this happen? Because thus far, they're excellent 1v1 players. Don't get me wrong, guys. Their Select is probably, out of this entire lot of players, the best, I would say. Yeah, if Cats and Drewby are listening to this, they're going to hate me now. But I feel like Select is probably the most solid player out of this lineup here. But in 2v2, that's an entirely different story. And it's kind of shown in this series so far. So, where is that Banshee? It is on the way right now from the starport. Cats now has decided to fall back. There's the lake I was talking about. We'll call that Salt Lake City. It looks like the Cats, after taking a sip in the water, decides to fall back with his Lings. And Drewby just keeping the contain on with a pair of Hellions for now. Both players, surprisingly, all of them almost playing 1v1 builds at this point. And the reason why I say that is neither player has really worked together to make anything happen in this game so far. So I would imagine in this game, if anyone has an advantage, maybe Optic Zero and Select do, because finally they're kind of playing the more comfortable style of, you know, not so much relying on your teammate, not dealing with early pressure. They're able to build up their own kind of unique strategy amongst their own base rather than relying on a teammate. and that may end up working better for Select and Optic Zero. But here comes Drewby. He is going to fly over that junkyard, and he's going to bring his Banshee right into the main of Optic Zero. But Select already waiting with a Viking. Oh, this is brutal. Drewby will have to fall back with the Banshee, and the Banshee has been negated. Null and void, unable to do any damage at all. If it's not careful, it may join the junkyard down there as scrap metal, because the Viking is hot on pursuit, along with a Phoenix as well. And this Phoenix will be able to catch up to the Banshee, and it does do some pretty good damage to Banshees. Banshees are considered light. Oh my god, that Phoenix is going to rough that Banshee up, and down it goes. And we are having almost seems like a dogfight. All players going for a quick air strategy. Save Cats. Cats is now going into lair, so I would imagine he's going to go into Mutalisks or possibly Hydralisks as soon as his lair finishes. We'll keep an eye on that production tab. And oh, Infestation Pit. I like that. So he's going to go into Mass Infestors here. Pretty smart strategy, but during the time he's waiting for Infestors, will he be able to keep his teammate alive? Because Select coming in here with some of his Vikings. Oh, the landing! I don't know about this one! He's gonna lose all of his Vikings here. But there's a Banshee able to do some pretty good damage. And Optic Zero able to bring the hurt. And oh, a Void Ray. Surprise, surprise. Oh, and Drewby for the first time in this series, under attack, taking serious damage. Maybe not the first time. In game 1 he was under attack pretty heavily as well, but this looks pretty good for Team Optic Zero and Team Select, as they're going to be able to, oh, they cancel that Tech Lab building the stim pack upgrade. That's going to be so bad for Drewby, and Drewby doing getting some serious damage in this game here, and I'm not sure what he can do. He does have a main back here, or a natural. And Cat's now bringing Queens off the line to help support. He is building 4 Spine Crawlers of his own back inside his mineral line, realizing that the air threat is very significant, and these Queens are slowly peeling off the creep to try to do whatever they can. But the Banshee by Select getting 14 kills, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, Marine's able to scrap that out. But the damage has been done. Now Select running in here with a couple of Hellions, and do they have Blue Flame? We're about to find out. No, not quite. But Orange Flame's still pretty good nonetheless, able to kill off several workers. And Select and Optic Zero looking great this game. Finally, Cat's able to build those Infestors as his Pathogen Glands have finished past the halfway upgrade mark, and that's when you want to get those Infestors as soon as the Pathogen Glands is over the halfway mark, because they will pop out as soon as that upgrade finishes, and they will have enough energy for an immediate fungal growth. It does look like, though, oh man, these Infestors couldn't come at a better time. Where are they? They have energy for fungal. It looks like Cat's maybe waiting for the perfect time, and this is it! Beautiful Fungal's getting laid down. He's going to keep those Air Forces locked down with fungal growth. Very well played right there, but one Banshee able to get away from the fungal growth, and that means that the Infestors will not be able to continuously lock down that army. But with the Marines coming in for support now, finally able to give Complexity a sigh of relief and some breathing room. That air harass was damaging, to say the least. And it looks like Complexity here is definitely hurting from that attack. Both Complexity's players at 38-35 Harvesters apiece. Dignitas Select and FXO Optic Zero at a much higher income rate right now. Maybe not much higher, but significantly higher. And that Air Force has worked out quite well for them, but Select, ever the intelligent player, realizing, you know, I'm not going to win a game with Banshees. I need to fall into standard units, and he does have tanks now rolling out. In fact, wow, that's a lot of tanks. About 4 siege tanks on the map right now, an entire Protoss air fleet of Phoenix. Oh, but those Phoenix could get fungled right now. This fungal could be brutal. And thank goodness those Phoenix were out of the way. Cat's here trying to land a money fungal right now. But oh, in return, some of his Infestors get lifted up. The Marines get burnt to crisps down on the ground below. And oh my goodness, this is so bad for Complexity, because that army is going to continue advancing forward. Looks like another fungal gets laid down. Kills off all the tanks. Good fungal growth right there. And Cats has an enormous army of Infestors. Keep in mind, those fungal growths could be what keeps Complexity in this game. But oh, Select coming in with Blue Flame Hellions behind the mineral line, doing damage to the workers of Drewby. It looks like Cats will have to bring his Infestors off the mineral line to use a fungal to deal with that. Not the most efficient use right there, and Cats is probably saying, Drewby, why did you have Hellions in your mineral line? I had to spend one of my fungal growths for that. You're gonna owe me for that cost. Pay me back in the future, you know, buy me lunch. But that was not good for Complexity. Now Drewby is at 14 Harvesters. Oh, that's so bad. And it's all up to Cats now to hold the line. Will he be able to do it? Some of his infestors getting elevated up by the Phoenix, and now the infested Terrans getting laid down. Those infestors are now completely out of energy. They will not be able to do anything else, and it looks like Optic Zero and Select may be able to take a game off the indestructible team of Complexity. Oh, finally. I thought this was just going to be a 4-0 sweep, but I guess we will have a fifth and another game coming out. And we will see what happens, because Select is doing some pretty good damage here along with FXO, Optic Zero, and here we go. Oh my goodness, all the forces engaging right here, and it looks like Drewby trying to find a good engagement with his Marines. Now Infestors using all the energy they've got to deal with those siege tanks, trying to get those infested Marines as close as possible to the tanks, but it looks like those Phoenix are doing so much damage. There's spells being cast absolutely everywhere. All the tanks almost all going down here, and hello, Speedlings coming out. Is Complexity gonna be able to hold here? This would be brilliant if they do, but it doesn't look like they have enough raw units to break through the tank contain, and Select's army able to bolster the ground as Optic Zero able to control the skies, and that will be enough for Optic Zero and Select to continue this push onwards. What a valiant effort by Drewby and by Cats, and oh wow, all this entire time Hellions were roasting the mineral line. You guys can see Drewby at 5 harvesters now, even worse than before, and Drewby calls a GG. Cats not quite calling GG yet, deciding to fight it out. His Mutalisks have arrived. He's like, no, why did you leave, Drewby? I've got Mutas now, I can do it. You can do it, but not quite. It looks like the Mutalisks are gonna all die. Yeah. All right, so GG calls Cats, which means we will be moving on to another game in this series. Oh, this is so epic. This is awesome. And we'll see if Select and Optic Zero can pull off another victory in game number 5. I'm not going to say anything else. Just stay tuned, guys. HD signing out.